The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star and I'm joined by Matthew Hurley from the Star Sports Department. Before we kick things off, I'd just like to give a gentle reminder to our listeners and viewers to please rate, review and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose the credit union, choose local, choose community. This week's podcast is a county final special as we look ahead to the clash between Bantry Blues and Kanturk in the Bon Secours Premier Intermediate football county final. The West Cork side head to Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Sunday at 4 p.m. in search of their first adult football title since 1998. And on today's show, we'll be joined by Bantry Blues player Kevin Harrington to look ahead to the big game. Matthew has been speaking to Kevin already, as well as many more of the people involved in Bantry. And Matthew, you've also been writing about the game for this week's Southern Star. So to kick things off, maybe set the scene for us a little bit. What does Sunday's game mean to the people of Bantry and to the GAA club itself?
Yeah, it means an awful lot, Jack, this final, because Bantry haven't won a county championship title since 1998. They won a senior championship that year. Graham Canty would have mentioned that on last week's episode of the podcast. 95 as well, they won it. But they haven't really been competitive since then in senior level. And they're doing very well in this intermediate grade. They've won every game so far in the road to the final. Kanturk, albeit, have won every game, but they needed extra time in the semi-final against a very good Kildamatra side to get past them. But yeah, this will be a very, very tough game for Bantry. I know they've performed very, very well, but you couldn't really pick two evenly matched sides for this. Like Kanturk, Bantry.
Yeah, on that point, Matthew, you were writing the preview for this week's game. You did the stats breakdown for this week's paper. So maybe give us a flavour of what people can expect. What kind of game should we be looking forward to on Sunday?
Well, you could expect Bantry to go for goals pretty early. I think they've averaged, 2 or 3 goals a game. They scored 3 goals in the semi-final against Eve Larey. Kanturk mostly go for points in their games, and you could see by their scores in this week's paper as well. I think you'd expect a high-scoring game, a very tight game. You'd probably expect Bantry to score more goals than Kanturk to tip the ball over the bar time after time. And I think there'd be a lot of great accuracy in this game because there's a lot of forwards on show who have scored a lot. Like Arthur Coakley from Bantry scored 314, for example. Colin Walsh has performed pretty well for Kanturk. Obviously, Rory Dean, the experienced player he is for Bantry. So a lot of good scores out in the field. And yeah, it should be a very good game, very tight encounter.
A name you mentioned there from the Kanturk side of things was Walsh, and he's not the only Walsh involved. So maybe talk to us a little bit about this one family that practically dominates the Kanturk team.
Yeah, there's a load of them indeed, Jack. You look at Colin, as I mentioned there, Aidan, an All-Ireland winner in 2010. Tommy, another 20 All-Ireland or Munster finalist this year against Kerry. He's a pretty good player in defence. You look at Ian there. Ian is their free taker as well. You have Alan in midfield. Like, they're all over the field, really, for this Kanturk team. And there was a game against Naomh Vaughan, the first game of the championship, where the whole scores for Kanturk were the Walshes. Like, this is a family that's probably one of the best in the country, besides probably the Cahalans of the Castlehaven and the Bars. They'd be probably battling each other in that department. But it'd be interesting to see how they get on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Like they're big, rangy players as well, especially Alan in midfield. Tommy's a big player as well. Aidan, we know how good he is. Colin's more of a scorer. Ian's more of a scorer as well. So, like they have a whole range of attributes, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they perform on Sunday. Like Bantry will have their hands full, no doubt. with these brothers or cousins or whatever their relations may be.
In Hawley O'Sullivan's column for this week's paper, he's talking about Bantry's bounce back ability. And what he means by that is their resilience that they've shown so far this season. They were relegated from Senior A last year and they're looking to go straight back up. So from the club's perspective, I know you've been speaking to club chairman Philly Spillane as well. From the club's perspective, how crucial is it that they don't linger too long in the intermediate grades? Because Bantry's a big club. Bantry by rights should be a senior club. That's how they view themselves.
It's actually interesting with the interview with Philly, because he said that the run that this side has been on in the Premier Intermediate Football Championship is forcing more kids to actually go to training and things like that. There's bigger numbers at training than ever seen at Bantry, and over the last few years they've kind of struggled and the interest may not have been there, but this team has regained the interest again. And yeah, I guess Hawley's point in a way, the bounce back ability is absolutely unbelievable, but and I do get some people's points as well. They have to go out and win this game now, because if they lose it, maybe the hard work will be going down the drain then. But Philly, as he mentioned in the paper, is very proud of the team. The whole community is proud of the team, but it'd be very important to just get up to senior, to stay there, because Bantry is a huge town. And not many towns actually, well, some towns actually flatter to deceive in many competitions. You could Bandon this season, like Bandon aren't in the senior grade next season. So it can happen that a big town like that are in an intermediate grade. So it'll be crucial for Bantry to just get up to senior level. They perform pretty well now just to finish off the job on Sunday, and they're well capable of doing it. They have the scores, they have the team ethic as well. They have a great manager, David O'Donovan. The ingredients are there. They have to go out and perform on Sunday now.
Well, Matthew, you've been speaking to Bantry stalwart Kevin Harrington, who's been away from the club for a number of years. He wasn't involved when they were relegated last season because he was living and working in Ennis, but he's back in the Bantry Blues colours. His name is Kevin Harrington, and he's been catching up with Matthew ahead of Sunday's big game.
So I'm delighted to be joined here by Kevin Harrington, a Bantry Blues player, getting ready for this weekend's crunch game against Kanturk, the Premier Intermediate county final. It doesn't get much bigger than that for Bantry Blues. I suppose, first of all, Kevin, how are you feeling ahead of the game? Like, it's a big game for Bantry. You're going for your first adult title in 24 years.
Yeah, look, Matthew, it's a great game to be looking forward to. I think, everyone involved with the team and certainly everyone around the town with any interest in football at all is really, really looking forward to us. And no doubt about it, there's a big test to come now with Kanturk Sunday week. But yeah, really looking forward to it now.
I suppose after getting relegated last year, like you mentioned it off air, that you weren't part of the team last year, but for the lads that were there, it was pretty hard to get back up on the horse, as people say, and drive on for this season, because most teams would really struggle in their first season down in Premier Intermediate, but not Bantry.
Yeah, look, relegation is always tough, and a few of the lads will be slagging me. I've been involved. I've been on a couple of teams that have been relegated over the years, both in Bantry a good few years back, and the club was involved in Clare, got relegated from senior to intermediate as well, albeit we got back up again there too. But the lads last year would have been fierce disappointed, no doubt. To go again then this year and kind of get back on the horse, as you say, is tough. In fairness, David O'Donovan has come involved there, assembled a good management team around him, and it's all been positive since the start of the year. It was all about looking forward, building in the league, and tearing into the championship, So I kind of got back involved there around July or August or whenever it was, and in fairness, everything was really, really positive. There was no looking back at what had happened last year, and a couple of games later there, really, really pleased to be still in championship and be looking ahead to a county final, which is fantastic. So great response from, I suppose, the disappointment from last year for sure.
And looking at the group stage, like your first game against Ahada, and Ahada ended up qualifying with you at the end of the group stage as well. So that game was crucial to start things off.
That was a big game. The three games were tough games and good opponents. I think, in fairness to the county board, with the restructuring they've done, all grades are really, really competitive, and there's no gimme games there whatsoever. But Ahada to start out, that was a huge game. Look, I don't know, were they favourites on paper, whatever, doesn't really matter. It's all about on the day. But real tough game. It was a bad night below or above in Éire Óg, and it was a huge test. And look, thankfully we came out the right side of it at the end of that game, and I think that gave everyone a huge boost. It was a huge ray of positivity in the team and in the club again. And even kind of seeing some of the faces of some of the loyal fans coming off the field that night, a bad night in Éire Óg, that was really, really kind of heartwarming, I think, for everyone involved, and I think gave us a great boost kind of going forward into the rest of the games for sure.
And the second game against Castleton-Bear, mentioned at the Southern Star, actually, Arthur Coakley, your selector, mentioned it as the Battle of the Bay. You won this battle by a point. Like, it was a huge game, this one. Huge game to get over because they're rivals, like.
It was a huge game, and Jesus was down in Bear, and I don't know, it was 25 or it felt like 30 degrees Celsius that day we were playing there, whatever day it was, that Saturday or Sunday. Huge game of football, played in the right spirit. It was high scoring. I think Castletown scored 19 points or something like that, Matthew, but look, thankfully we just got enough done, got over the line. Really pleased to get that win again, get the second win, but I suppose a lot of things that we needed to work on as a team for sure after that, but great game below there. They're the kind of games you really remember, those tight games that you just come through at the last minute. So yeah, it was great to get that second win, and it set us up nicely then for the last group game against the Páirc.
And he mentioned the last game against the Páirc, like Arthur Coakley actually mentioned that the last time Bantry person was mentioned on the podcast, a member of a backroom team or a player, and he was kind of disappointed with the game against the Páirc. Would you agree with him?
Look, I suppose going into the game against the Páirc, I think we'd already qualified for, at a minimum, the quarterfinals, so I suppose that has an effect on your mindset going into a game. There's no doubt about it. But look, Jesus, I was gone from Bantry for 6 or 7 seasons, but I've never had an easy game against the Páirc. They're always huge competitors. And I've been on the losing side in championship games in the Páirc so many times, So I think, again, look, it was the last game of the group. We wanted to get the win. Thankfully, we did. The Páirc were really pushing for a win as well to try stay up themselves. And even though they lost, they did manage to stay up on scoring difference. So look, yeah, you can be disappointed on the day maybe with the performance, but at the end of the day, it was a good result. And winning's a habit, Matthew. So look, 3 wins in the bounce. I think that set us up nicely, and the way it turned out, it obviously got us straight into the semi-final as well. So. I think, look, the group phases. The group phase was all about getting those results, and look, the performances have been improving as well steadily too.
And you mentioned getting straight through to the semi-final. That was against Eve Larry, and you eventually won that in the end. But I just wanted to take it back a small bit before the Eve Larry game, watching the quarterfinals unfold as well. Like, is that kind of a difficult thing to do, just to wait how the other opponents in the Premier Intermediate Football Championship get on, or do you actually enjoy the break?
I personally enjoyed the break anyway myself. Look, it was an extra week or two to shake off a few little knocks or whatever, or even get a bit more training under the belt, whatever the case may be. So look, I can't speak for other lads, but certainly for me, I wasn't watching the quarterfinals too much. It was really a case of kind of focusing on ourselves individually and as a team and getting ready for a semi-final, whoever was going to be against. And look, as I said there earlier on, the grades, I think the 2 senior grades, the 2 intermediate grades, the same. It is so competitive. It didn't matter to us who we were going to be playing in semi-final. It was really about just getting ourselves ready for that match,
And that match was against Eve Larry. You won that game at the end, 3-13 to 116. Like, I mentioned to Arthur in the episode that he was on the Southern Star podcast that this was going to be a difficult game. Like, Eve Larry were the goal getters, but it turned out in this game, you were the goal getters. You got 3 goals and eventually won the game.
Yeah, a savage game. A really, really good game of football. I think anyone who was at it would agree with me. It was probably one of the better competitive games in Cork this year. Again, played in the right spirits. 2 good footballing teams, some great scores. And look, it was in the balance up only until a few minutes to go. And look, thankfully, the couple of goals made the difference in the end. Look, goals win games, and I've been on many a team where the goals would have gone in on the other end, unfortunately. But look, yeah, great to get those couple of goals and come out the right side of that game. But a fantastic game, I must say. Look, in fairness to Eve Larry, they've had a great run the last few years, and look, just thankfully we got over the line in the end.
And you were thankful to get those 3 goals. They really got you over the line in the end.
They were huge, and I mean, look, they came at a real pivotal time of the game. It was nip and tuck the whole game. They got a goal there early in the first half, and it was nip and tuck, and we kind of got the 3 goals in a space of maybe 7 or 8 or 10 minutes, in the middle of the second half, and look, that gave us a good platform then to see out the game, thankfully. So real positive, and keeps us involved for another few weeks this time of year. I'm used to playing for the wrong reasons at this time of year, or even getting ready at training for the following year. So it's great to be still in the championship in October, definitely.
It's a great change, really, not to be involved in a relegation battle and involved in an actual final to chance for promotion. It's a brilliant feeling.
It is. It's fantastic there, and like we've been training there midweek. There's kind of generators and lights set up for us there below in Wolftown Park. And look, in fairness, anything we've needed all year has been provided by the club and by the community, and it's great to have those headaches where you're trying to get lads together early for training because it's getting dark. So it's great to be still playing for the right reasons at this time of year.
And as I mentioned at the start, you're going for your first adult trophy in 24 years. Arthur mentioned that as well. Like, that's amazing, really. And if you win it now on Sunday, like, that'll be a huge achievement for Bantry to win that title for the first time. A title for the first time in 24 years. That'd be big for the area, I'd imagine.
Yeah, look, to be fantastic. I mean, everyone's looking forward to the game. There's no doubt about it. And I suppose we're just trying to focus on the game and not think too much about after the game, win, lose, or draw, whatever the case may be. But look, I mean, it's look, I grew up in Bantry, and when the teams, the mid 90s, the 95, 98 team, like, I mean, we grew up looking at those players, going to those games and experiencing the thrill and the excitement, the celebrations after those games. So look, whatever will happen on Sunday week, whatever will be. But look, there'll be great celebrations, great excitement if we can come out the right side. There'll be no doubt about it. 24 years is a long time. It's 2 generations. It's certainly one footballing generation, and it's the bones of 2 footballing generations, to be fair. So great to be back there, and hopefully we can push on now as well.
And just looking at your performances this year, like the whole team has really put something in this year. Like the spread of scores I was looking at in the lead up to this game: Arthur Coakley with 3-14, Rory Deed with 2-9, obviously a former intercounty player with Cork, huge player, Paddy Cronin, Dan Murray, even yourself has gotten the score sheet once as well. Like, the spread of scores is unbelievable.
I don't know how you mean even myself. Why wouldn't I be? No, for sure. Like, I mean, because look, you're looking at the scores there. I mean, even if you look at the number of players that have probably played and featured in championship, look, there was a few injuries in earlier rounds. Look, everyone is back now, or thereabout. There's great competition for places, and look, a great selection of people scoring as well. And I mean, look, everyone knows in this day and age, it's about 15, 20 players that's going to play on any given day, and it's about 25 or even 30 lads in training, to create that bit of competition and for lads to be pushing each other on, So, great spread of scores, some great young lads there, in fairness. Look, everyone knows Rory and Arthur now in recent years, but some really, really good young forwards and defenders as well, too. Some guys, I suppose myself, getting back involved and being considerably older than the majority of lads in the team. Look, there's young lads there who I'm meeting for the first time. I know their fathers, or I know of their fathers. So to see some of these guys play in the flesh now and to train with them and see what they're capable of is really, really exciting for Bantry into the future, because there's some really, really good talent there, and brilliant that some of these guys get the chance to play in Páirc Uí Chaoimh now Sunday week.
The mix, you mentioned it there, with lads like yourself, experience, Rory Deeds experience as well. The young lads coming in, like the mix of youth experience, that really bodes well for this season as well.
There's a nice mix there, Matthew. I mean, look, they're all pretty young to me now at this stage. Rory will be one of the more seasoned campaigners there. Dave Daly and Sean Leary as well. Like, there's good experience in the team, and there's a nice little blend. And I think it's all about creating that bit of competition as well too. Look, whether you're young, old, or whatever the case may be, it'll be the best 15. It'll be the next kind of 5 or 6 lads. Whoever gives us the best chance of winning the game will come on. So there's a nice blend there for sure, and there's good old buzz in the team as well too. We had a few great old nights after those championship wins, and kind of young or old, everyone's together, which is really great to see, you know. Really, really enjoyable this year playing with them.
You mentioned the buzz around the panel. There'll be definitely a buzz around the town as well, like the bunting up in Bantry, like that hasn't been seen in a while.
Yeah, for sure. Driving through the town there at the start of the week was great to see the bunting up there and one of the streets. And I've no doubt now this weekend and even next week there'll be plenty of flags and lots more popping up around the town. So it's great. It's great to be involved and great to have that buzz around for sure.
And you mentioned the aspect of playing in Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well, the Cork GA HQ. It's a huge stadium now, new redeveloped stadium. Like for the lads, especially the younger lads, to play in that stadium, that'll be big for them.
Big day out. Look, big day. There's no doubt about it. And look, I think the key or one of the tasks for ourselves over the next 10 days is just to kind of get it into lads' mind. It's just another game, you know, and whether it's Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Páirc Uí Dunmanway or Wolftown Park at home, it is just another game. It's, you know, 15 against 15, it's 20 against 20. And I think, look, the time for thinking about Páirc Uí Chaoimh and enjoying it and enjoying the event is after the fact, you know, to look back on and say, look, this is what we done, or this is what we achieved, or this is what we didn't achieve. But yeah, look, really exciting to be going there for sure. And look, particularly the new developed stadium as well too. Like it's a fantastic asset to have in Cork GA, and look, delighted to be going there playing. But look, it's just another game. It just happens to be in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, so I think that'll be one of the things to focus on now for the next 10 days.
And like we were chatting off air as well about your own life as well. Like you've been all around the country really. I hear you're in Dublin right now. You were at Clare years ago as well, playing with a Clare club called, correct me if I'm wrong pronouncing this now, St. Joseph's Dura Bearfields. I think it's the name of it.
Dura Bearfields, yeah. St. Joseph's Dura Bearfields, spot on.
Glad I got that spot on now. But yeah, it's some journey you've been on in Clare and Dublin, and of course down to Bantry as well. Like, so you've been all over the country.
Been all over, yeah. Look, I'm just in Dublin a couple of days there, kind of midweek from every second week or things like that would work. But yeah, look, I had 7 years living in Ennis and seven great years, Matthew. I must say it's a fantastic place to live, fantastic people. Really enjoyed our time there. And I mean, look, myself, my wife and our kids, if we were to spend the rest of our lives there, we wouldn't have lost a wink of sleep. But at the same time, it wasn't home, it wasn't Bantry. There was probably always a bit of a graw to maybe get back one day. And look, when the opportunity kind of came up career-wise and work-wise, look, myself and my wife, Mary Kate, look, we jumped at it, you know, and we're only back kind of since maybe the end of July, start of August there. But delighted to be back. But I must say, look, Clare, beautiful place to visit. West Clare football is football mad there, and some great footballing people and clubs kind of from Ennis heading back west as well too. So absolutely had some great times up there for sure.
And like, if you were to reminisce on the Clare Championship at the moment and compare to the Cork Championship, would you say still the Cork Championship is better than the Clare Championship, or do you think the Clare Championship is catching up with the County Championship down here?
It's hard to compare, you know. And when I went to Clare 7 years ago or whatever it was, everyone was asking me that, like, how does senior championship in Clare compare to Cork? And even now that I'm back again, people are asking me again, how does it compare? And I suppose I've had the benefit or the misfortune to play senior and intermediate in Cork, and I've had the benefit or misfortune of playing senior and intermediate in Clare as well, as it turned out. But I don't know. It's hard to compare. Like, I mean, there's some really good players in Clare in the clubs, and as I said, there's some you know, huge footballing clubs in Clare as well, and huge footballing people, and as I said, really good players. And I mean, look, the Clare setup under Colin Collins the last 10 years, like they've achieved some fantastic things and really gone about changing the footballing culture in Clare, you know. But even at a club level, there's some fantastic players, and the standard is very good, Matthew. You know, how does it compare to Cork? It's hard to say. I mean, I think the real proof in the pudding is when it comes down to Munster Championship, you know, and how a Cork team gets on against a Kerry champion or a Clare champion. I think that's the only true comparison. And I suppose, look, last year I know the Bars pipped Éireoga of Ennis by a few points in the Munster semi-final, and look, both those teams are are still in the championship again, senior. I know at the intermediate, look, whoever does come out of ourselves and Kanturk, you have Cork, Clare and Kildysart waiting on the Clare side again, because I think it's Clare and Cork are drawn this year in the Munster Championships, you know. So look, that's the real true test, you know. So I wouldn't like to say whether the standard is better in Cork or Clare or club level, because my phone might light up later on one way or another. But yeah, so look, the standard is very good up there. There's no doubt about it, and some great players and some great footballing people, definitely.
Brilliant balanced answer there. Like you're watching your back answering that.
And look, the wheel is always turning, Matthew, and as you said, I'm traveling around a lot, so try not to offend anyone. But no, look, I must say, fantastic place. Really enjoyed our time there. And look, I think when you're involved in the GAA, you kind of settle into anywhere in the country. It's one of the great things about Ireland and the Irish people and the GAA. But I must say, in Clare and in West Clare and in Ennis, like being involved in football and getting involved, like, I mean, it made it so easy to settle into a community. It was really, really good, and have some great friends back in Clare, and hopefully we'll stay in touch with them over the years, And
I suppose looking forward again to the Sunday's final, it's going to be big for the Bantry community, the fans as well, for them to go up to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, a double header as well in that day. Then you're playing Kanturk in the 4 o'clock game. Like, it's going to be so exciting for the whole community.
Well, it'll be a great day out. I've no doubt there'll be plenty of cars and buses heading up, and they might have a few stops along the way and a few stops home. So look, it's hopefully it will be a great day out, and look, hopefully we can get the job done and keep the celebrations going thereafter. Yeah, but look, it's great. It's great for the community, and look, there's some great real clubmen there, who've no matter what the misfortune or disappointment over the years, they've always togged out and played, or they've always done their bit in the club, and really, really happy for all those people, both players and fans and supporters and club people. So really looking forward to it, definitely, yeah, and I think everyone is.
And what would it mean to the people of Bantry? Like, I'd imagine already it's going to be so exciting if he managed to win the game. But like, what would it mean to the people of Bantry? Like, he won the Senior County Championship in 1998, to go and win another trophy 24 years later. Like, that'd be absolutely incredible.
Good. I think we want to know Tadhg Crowley Cup at some stage along the way as well too. But yeah, look, that doesn't quite cut it, I suppose. So look, I mean, it would be great. Look, I mean, getting back to the county final obviously is a great step. Obviously, we want to go on and hopefully try win it. But yeah, look, it would be great. And look, whatever happens, win or lose, I suppose. Look, carrying that momentum into next year and driving on with that. What is a relatively young team, Matt? I mean. Driving on and taking that bit of experience and that bit of confidence as well that lads have really generated over the last 4 games. I think that'll be the real, it's kind of one of the real objectives, But look, obviously, if we could get our hands in the cup and bring it back to Bantry, it would be fantastic, it really would.
It really would. It'd be a brilliant victory for West Cork as well if Bantry managed to do it. But thank you, Kevin, for your time. Wish you the best of luck now on Sunday. Hopefully, for the sake of West Cork, for the sake of the Southern Star, that you'll win the game on Sunday. And best of luck against Kanturk. All of West Cork is behind you, lads.
Sounds good, Matthew. Appreciate that. Good man.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Great stuff there from Kevin and Matthew. Before we move on from Sunday's game, it's prediction time. You've been doing the breakdown for the paper. I know you think it's likely to be quite a close game, but I want you to put your head on the block now. Who's going to win? Are Bantry going back to senior, or are the Kanturk Walshes just going to be too much to handle?
It is going to be a very tight game. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to extra time. This game, even a penalty shootout, the infamous penalty shootout. But because we're in West Cork, I'm going to go for a Bantry win. I just think they'll have the tactical nous, they'll have the experience, they have the goal scorers. I think it's all about putting performance in on Sunday. I just think Bantry will just have a bit too much experience for this Kanturk team. Kanturk are relatively new. Most of them Walshes we mentioned earlier on the show, they're pretty young. They're going to Páirc Uí Chaoimh relatively inexperienced. When you look at the Bantry team, Rory Dean, Shawnee O'Leary, obviously Kevin, experienced players all over the field for this Bantry team and on the sideline as well. So I'm going to back Bantry to win this game, and hopefully they do it.
Well, there you have it. Bantry Blues going back to the senior grade according to Matthew. Now, Matthew, before we preview this week's Southern Star sports section, there's another big game in West Cork this weekend, and that's the Carbery Junior A hurling final between Ballinascarty, we'll whisper it, your own club, and the second string of Newcestown. You've also been writing the preview for this week's game. I guess Newcestown are a bit of a surprise package considering they beat the fancied Clonakilty in the semi-final, and your own Ballinascarty, as we mentioned, overcame Dohenys on penalties after a classic encounter last Friday evening. So we won't go too much into this one because there's a good preview in this Thursday's paper by Matthew. But just give us the outlook for Sunday. What do you think we should be expecting? Ballinascarty favourites, I guess?
Probably favourites. Like everybody expected a Ballinclan final, but Newcestown shocked them, and had as well without the influential Daniel Toomey, who went off for his child's christening during the game as well. So it was incredible the way he went off. But I think Ball would be probably favourites going into this game, but it's only slightly. Like Newcestown, the stats there are pretty similar as well. But Newcestown have been kind of a team that everybody have been sleeping on, because like everybody was thinking Ball, Clon, maybe Donnies could come into it, Kilbeen, but it hasn't turned out that way. Like Newcestown are a big side, and when you look at the county championship structure already, you have B teams all over the county, really. Erin's Own, Valley Rovers. Newcestown could be a third going into the county championship, so it could be a battle of the B teams in this county series. But Ball, they've won the competition last year. They'll be hoping to do so again. They have good players. They've Brian O'Donovan back from America. You have Jeremy Ryan up front, Ben Murray, former League Inter-County hurler as well. So Ball definitely have some very good players. But Newcestown, you have Dar McAree, who's a goal-scoring god in this championship so far. So yeah, it should be a very interesting game in Rossmore at 3:30 on Sunday. Very, very interesting game. But I think Ball will probably go into it as slight favourites.
And we'll have in-depth coverage from that game in next week's Southern Star. So if you don't happen to be able to get to it, make sure to pick up next week's paper. Matthew is going to be there for us, and I'm expecting great things from him and a great game as well. Just before we wrap this week's Star Sport podcast, just a few things to point to in this week's Southern Star Sports section. As we mentioned at the top, there's a 7-page preview of Bantry's county final against Kanturk. We also have coverage from all the big hurling games last weekend. There was the classic between Inniscarra and Castlemartyr in the Premier Intermediate hurling final. Tracton were beaten in the Premier Junior final. There's also news of Darren McElhenny's latest win in Abbottstown, reports from the 2 Junior A semi-finals, as we mentioned then, and then all the classics, motorsport, road bowling, and soccer from across West Cork. If you can't make it to the shops this week, you can always subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper for less than €2 per week. Just go to subscribe.southernstar.ie and sign up, and you can read the Southern Star from anywhere in the world for less than €2 per week. Thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast this week, and thanks as well to our producer Dylan Mangan. If you enjoy these shows, please make sure to rate, review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Slán Tamil.